On this edition of Native Report, we spend an evening with 7-time Native American Music Award winner Keith Secola.
We meet Minnesota State Supreme Court Associate Judge Anne McKeague.
And we follow up on a story from Season 5 about men's health with Dr. Arne Vainio. We also learn what we can do to lead healthier lives and hear from our elders on this edition of Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community, the Blandin Foundation, and the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation.
Welcome to Native Report. I'm Ernie Stevens.
And I'm Rita Aspinwall. It was a homecoming for musician Keith Secola as he brought his guitar to the Bois Forte Government Center for an evening of family, friends, and music from an icon in Native Americana.
I've been riding in my Indian car, pound of the wheel in my brain. As an American Indian songwriter, a Native American songwriter, as an American songwriter, I would say you lead people gently to a brutal truth, especially in our histories. And so you can't be an angry Indian and suffer from historical trauma so much that you write just angry songs. But you can't be a Disneyland Indian that you're so numb to our history. Looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Oh God.
When he's not performing on the road, and as often as his schedule permits, award-winning musician Keith Secola makes his way back home to the Bois Forte Nation. Tonight, he is the featured artist as part of community radio station KBFT's Live Artist Project. Keith showed interest in music as a young boy.
My mom would always buy these cheap rummage sale guitars, and have them around the house. So we as kids would fool around, especially I'd fool around on a couple chords or notes or something like that. And I think that inspired the yearning to want to really play. And I first got my electric guitar. I hitchhiked from Virginia to Hibbing, Minnesota, and bought a Gibson Marauder, an electric guitar. And I still got that guitar. And inspiration comes from life, all over, and from my little children, from your friends, the essence of life. I call it the lost highway. I think it's a discovery that we come upon ourselves in our lives. It's a place of essence that we find, and a good marker to know when we found it is if the Great Spirit looks down upon you, whoever you're with, and said, "This is why I created human beings." It brings salvation in times when your soul is troubled. It brings celebration when your soul is happy, and it brings consciousness when you think of lyrics and you think of how they're implied to rhythm and melody and harmony.
Keith joined the Wild Band of Indians during the 1990s, and he has been touring with them ever since. He's played with the likes of the Indigo Girls and Doors drummer John Densmore, plus many others. For tonight's performance, it is Keith, some amps, and a microphone.
Canadian National Room far down the line. Canadian National Room far down the line. Well, my feelings are there, won't be feelings that won't be long till it is summertime. I've become friends with a lot of people the guys in U2, I've known him since the 90s. some great Indian native musicians like Floyd Westerman and Charlie Hill and John Trudell, people like that who I've traveled with. In our way, we always talk about humility being our first virtue, and it's something that maybe it could have slipped away from me, but it didn't. In my life, they say, be nice to people on your career up because you're going to see them on their way down. You become a comrade, of this way where music is just a gift to everybody. I got to play my guitar this morning and get to share stories with friends.
Keith calls his genre of music Native Americana, and he is currently developing projects around that. Music, whether it is folk, rock, or a mixture of both, is what he was born to do. And he knows the same is true for others out there.
We're on a circuit of an Indian dream. The dawn get old, we just get younger. We're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian car. Let's take it home.
I'm developing a radio program called Native Americana, and where I'm developing songs along the timeline, not necessarily trying to define it so much, but letting artists define it. Like, where would you put a song like Indian Cars on the timeline? You're using chants, I'm using electric guitar, chords, melodies that are like based upon social songs, the chants of 49 or social songs, but playing on an electric guitar, so many crossroads are passing. And so you can look at songs, almost every song, and you can see where does what timelines, where are they blending, where's the alchemy of the music. And what I'm finding a lot in our genre as Native Americana is a love for the earth. And it's almost like a rallying cry now. Let's write songs about our love for the earth. Not just preaching songs, but love songs. The first thing is to be a human being. I would just think, keep pursuing your dreams, no matter at what age, because a lot of times as you get older, people think that we should forget our dreams. I told somebody, I wrote a rock opera, and a woman looked at me like, still at your age? I'm thinking what is, you should be thinking like that, and always pursue this. So, miigwech.
So they had more of these private gatherings, and more people came. He doesn't seem to mind.
I'm Dr. Arne Vainio, and today we're talking about breast cancer. The American Cancer Society estimates that 246,600 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, and more than 40,000 of them will die. Aside from skin cancer, breast cancer remains the most common cancer and is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. Symptoms include noticing a lump in the breast, changes in the shape or texture of the nipple or breast, or bloody discharge from a nipple. Treatment depends on the stage of the cancer. Staging means finding out if the cancer is spread and how far. Tests to help determine this may include ultrasound, MRI, biopsy, chest x-rays, CT scans, or PET scans. Treatments for breast cancer may include chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, and again depend very much on the stage of the cancer. Stage 0 is cancer that is not spread beyond the original site, and stage 4 means the cancer is spread to distant sites. This is known as metastatic cancer. The good news is that when breast cancer is detected early in the localized stage, the relative 5-year survival rate is 100%. The most common screening test for breast cancer is a mammogram. According to the United States Preventive Services Task Force, screening should begin every other year at age 50 through 74. Screening for women aged 75 and older is uncertain as far as benefits and harms. The American Cancer Society recommends women aged 40 to 45 should be able to choose to have yearly mammograms. Women aged 45 to 54 should have yearly mammograms. Women aged 55 or older should have mammograms every 2 years, or every year if they choose, and screening should continue as long as they are expected to live 10 years or longer. I suggest you talk it over with your healthcare provider. Self-breast exams and clinical breast exams are no longer recommended for breast cancer screening. Mammograms compress the breast tissue from 2 different angles for each breast. This is briefly uncomfortable for some women, but important because the compression allows for a better view of breast tissue while using less radiation. You may have noticed I have pink hair. I was one of 5 men asked to participate in the Real Men Wear Pink campaign to raise money for the Strides Against Breast Cancer for the American Cancer Society. It's kind of a long story, but I agreed to have pink streaks in my ponytail when I hit my goal of $2,500. This is permanent, and I think this may be there for several years. It's a good reminder for all of us. Speaking of reminders, remember to call an elder. They've been waiting for your call. I'm Dr. Arne Vainio, and this is Health Matters.
The appointment of 4th Judicial District Judge Ann McKeague to the Minnesota State Supreme Court is historic. Judge McKeague is the first Native American jurist on the state's highest court. Next, Tad Johnson interviews Judge McKeague about the paths that led her to where she is today.
Family, friends, and colleagues of the Honorable Ann McKeague filled O'Shaughnessy Auditorium on the campus of St. Catherine University to bear witness to an historic moment in the history of Minnesota, the swearing in of the first Native American jurist on the state's highest court. As a young girl from northern Minnesota, Judge McKeague aspired to become a lawyer.
Well, I was going to be a dentist, and I had to do a report on dentistry. And there was a lot of science. And I knew that I did not like science, and I was not good at science. And I think I decided that I was good at arguing and also liked helping people. I think that comes from my parents. And for some reason, I can't really understand why, because I didn't know any lawyers. I don't know if there was Hill Street Blues that was probably on TV at the time, but I just decided I'm going to be a lawyer. And I think it was probably destined from the day I was born that I was going to go to St. Catherine's University, where my mother attended. I was the only girl. And so that was the plan, and I never changed that plan. I think I was lucky. I had the best of both worlds. I had a mother who was a Fulbright scholar and valued education and saw the importance of that, saw the importance of her role within the community. You know, she certainly could have done a million other things in her lifetime. She was from Bemidji, and she chose to move back home for the welfare of her kids, to raise them in a small town, and give up her dreams and aspirations, which were much bigger than that. And then my dad, who was born in Onegum, and who hated the Twin Cities, and hated traffic, and just couldn't function down here. And so he was home when he went, back to Federal Dam. But he valued, if you can't get your hands dirty and you can't do physical labor, then education means nothing. So you take those two things together, and I couldn't have been luckier in knowing that you got to be part of the community. What can you do to help the community? But also, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, because a good day's work is good for everybody.
After receiving her law degree from Hamline University, Judge McKeague's first law job was with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office in the Child Protection Division, specializing in Indian child welfare cases.
Mike Freeman hired me in 1992, and I was placed as a law clerk in the Child Protection Division, and it was as though I landed home. And I stayed there until I left in 2008. I knew I wanted to be a mother. I knew I wanted to have a lot of children. And so when I could have an impact on kids in a positive way, I think that's probably what was most rewarding about that job. But then I was fortunate enough, Mike Freeman approached me in, I want to say in the later 90s, if I wanted to work on improving the office's work with the tribes, and specifically on the Indian child welfare cases. And that was something that really interested me, because of course it was going to bring me home, and it was going to allow me to do work within my community. And so I, along with another county attorney, Arne Vainio at the time. He allowed us to travel throughout the state of Minnesota as well as the Dakotas and meet with all of the reservations with which we had children in common. Hennepin was like the third largest urban Indian population at the time, and we had a very large number of those cases. And to really start a discussion and to listen about what we could do different as a government agency and involving the tribes in those proceedings. For example, I can recall going out to Rosebud and Pine Ridge in particular, and the Rosebud rep said, "You are the first county attorney that has ever come to our reservation in all of the years that we've been doing child welfare cases from anywhere." And how sad is that, with a law that was passed in 1978, and this is the late 90s. And so that really told me how important this was.
With her appointment to the state Supreme Court by Governor Mark Dayton, Judge McKeague reflects on a special person who influenced her throughout her legal career, and she in turn offers advice to the younger generation.
I had gone in 1995 there was a swearing in of Robert Blazer. And I had heard about this guy who was a White Earth member. I am from White Earth, even though I grew up in Federal Dam. And watching him be sworn in, I think instilled in me, okay, if this guy can do it from the White Earth Reservation, then maybe I could too. And he really took me under his wing and mentored me. He was a very big inspiration. I tell my kids and I tell the law clerks and the students that I teach, I said, never say no to yourself. Make somebody say no to you, meaning that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, I am a perfect example of that. I grew up in a town of 100 people. I wasn't exposed to, there wasn't any lawyers like that I knew of in town that were around me. But still, a dream was born, and I followed that dream, and it was, every door is open to me until somebody closes it. And even if they close it, I'm going to keep going to try to open it. And that's, I think you have to have that sort of ambition and belief in yourself and seek out the mentorship of others, because I now view that I have a responsibility to pass on what I have learned and what I have gained from Judge Blazer, as well as other people who have mentored me. And I think it's really important to seek that out as a young person and have others help you find your way, because it's too big to do by yourself.
We got to retain our language. We got to retain our culture, and without those, I mean, we you know, in our prophecy, it says that the grave will take us back. So I think with that being said, I mean, there's certain you know, in the philosophies that was given to us. I mean, today I see a lot what was said. I mean, as an elder myself, I now see what I was told when I was young, and it really, it's just you know, it's just amazing how true these predictions that were said to me as a young man are now becoming visible and evident.
Dr. Arne Vainio took a novel approach to addressing the issues of men's health. Instead of telling males of a certain age what checkups they should have, Dr. Vainio thought the best way to reinforce the importance of men's health was to document his own appointments and colonoscopy. This is an update to that original story.
It is a rainy Friday morning, and Dr. Arne Vainio is driving to his medical appointment at Cloquet Community Memorial Hospital. Today, Dr. Vainio will have a colonoscopy, a procedure that screens for colon cancer.
Colon cancer is the third biggest cause of colon cancer deaths in the United States and in the world. And 99% of colon cancers show up in people over 40, 90% in people over 50, and that's why screening starts at age 50. You know, I'm doing this colonoscopy because I have someone who loves me and cares about me. And my wife, Ivy, she's been there all along for me, and I've been there all along for her, and this is part of that. Colonoscopies, you can make jokes about it, you can worry about it, you can whatever, you know, but the reason that we do this is for love. We're coming up in the hospital now.
A colonoscopy is one of several tests that may be used to screen for colon cancer. Other tests include sigmoidoscopy, stool tests, and computed tomographic colonography. The right screening test for you depends on your risk, your preference, and your doctor.
Screening means people that have no symptoms. So there's no blood in my stools, there's no abdominal pain, there's no cramping, there's nothing else. And that's screening. So screening means that you're looking for something that if you pick it up early before it shows any symptoms, then you can do something about it. And with a colonoscopy, Dr. Vopat can just take a polyp right out, right on the spot. 5'8". People are afraid of getting colonoscopies, and they're afraid of a lot of things, medical procedures, and people don't understand things. Having somebody put a camera into your rectum and looking into your colon is, it weirds people out, and it's scary and it's embarrassing. And this is my second colonoscopy. I had one, 5-6 years ago.
Usually 1 or 2 days before the procedure, a person will have to clean out their colon, which is called a prep. And for many people, the prep is worse than the screening. After getting his medical history and signing the consent forms, Dr. Vainio meets his doctor, and then it's off to perform the procedure. The test will take an approximate 20 minutes to 1/2 hour.
I probably have the coolest dreams.
Yeah.
I never remember them.
I know, that's the problem. Everybody wakes up happy, though.
Yeah, no, I'm always thinking I can fly in my dreams.
Oh, yeah. How you doing, Arne? We're ready.
Fully anesthetized, Dr. Vainio is repositioned on the gurney, and within minutes the procedure begins. Dr. Vopat is working the scope with manual controls, and he can view the progress of the scope on a monitor. All during this time, Dr. Vainio's vital statistics are closely monitored. And once the procedure is done, he is wheeled back to the room where he will recover for an approximate hour.
Hey, Ivy. How are you? All done. Everything went great. Hey, Arne. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. Everything went well. Everything looks good this trip. No polyps, no cancer, nothing bad. Screening colonoscopy is basically checking for colon cancers or polyps in asymptomatic individuals, people that are having no troubles with their bowels. So, and the reason we do that is because colon cancer is a notoriously sneaky disease. It can, if we wait until it's large enough to cause us symptoms in terms of bleeding or perforation or abdominal pain, or obstruction or abdominal pain, sometimes it's too large to treat effectively. So by screening for it, we can either catch it very early where it's fairly straightforward to treat surgically, or even better than that, we can catch it at the polyp stage before it even turns into a cancer. With the colonoscope, we can actually snare them and remove them and prevent that from happening. His results were fine. There was no polyps. There were no polyps, no cancers. We did see some diverticulosis, which are little pouches or pockets in the colon. They're very common in people who eat our typical Western diet with not quite enough fiber in it and things, but they're very common finding. They rarely cause troubles, and so it's really nothing to worry about. It's something we had seen at his previous colonoscopy as well. Get your colonoscopies. It's really not that tough a procedure to go through. We save a lot of lives. We've actually been able to bend the colon cancer curve downward by doing screening colonoscopies, finding polyps and removing them, and finding colon cancers early.
True medicine is about, I think, and healing is about love and redemption and forgiveness. And this part is the love part. And that's what we do for the people that we love. You know, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for my wife, and I have a son, and you know, I have people that care about me. And that's who I'm doing this for. And that's the way we need to change our thinking. You know, we don't do this for ourselves. We do these for people that depend on us.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us on the web at nativereport.org, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors in Indian Country. I'm Ernie Stevens.
And I'm Rita Aspinwall. We'll see you next time on Native Report.
Rita Aspinwall is an enrolled member of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, and is an ICWA social worker with Fond du Lac Social Services. Ernie Stevens is a member of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin and is a film and television producer. Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community, the Blandin Foundation, and the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation.